Hi, everybody. So today I want to talk about the dual nature of consciousness from the lens of Neville Goddard. I have one of his books here with me, and I'm going to reference a couple of his quotes that he brings up, probably bring in my own perspective and talk about my own stories to help people better understand manifestation through the lens of consciousness. So, in the mind, there's the conscious and the subconscious. Consciousness in scripture is in reference to the sun. It's what you're aware of. It's the daytime, right? It's like the reason why I made my eyes so big is because it's like what you see, what your awareness is being drawn to. Your subconscious are the things that you were once conscious of at one point, meaning you were taking it in as information, and based on enough conditioning of seeing the same thing, it became a subconscious program. It's now a subconscious belief. And when something is subconscious, think of the word sub. It's a sub layer. Consciousness is just the what's it called? Like on the earth, you have the earth's crust or whatever, right? Then there's layers. There's different layers to the earth in which makes it what it is. I mean, there's also flat earth, and that's a whole different debate, but you get what I'm saying just for conversation's sake, right? So the subconscious is a deeper layer that requires a lot of reflection to remove if you don't like that belief that you have. So I'm going to read a verse here and further elaborate on the dual nature we all have as human beings. And when you recognize that you have these two entities living within you, you can then better understand how your beliefs create your reality, how you can unprogram the beliefs you no longer want, and then reprogram new beliefs in your mind to then manifest what it is you want to experience. Because your consciousness creates reality. So here it says, consciousness includes a subconscious as well as a conscious part. So that's a dual nature. You have conscious and you have subconscious. The infinitely greater part of consciousness lies below the sphere of objective consciousness. Now, in this sentence, they say consciousness so many times, so I'll just break it down as easy as I can. But it says the subconscious is the most important part of consciousness. And it's true, because your subconscious is what creates your reality. The programs that you've planted seeds for, that you've repeated again and again and again. The beliefs that you have because you experience them in reality enough times to make it a karmic pattern. That's what karma is. Karma isn't, oh, you're a bad person, so therefore you'll be punished. That's completely false, because if karma or morality was a finite way to determine someone's fate, all punishment and reward would be just. But the world doesn't operate that way. There's plenty of terrible people that get away with plenty of terrible things. And there's plenty of good people that seem to fall on hardship. And it's because good people typically are told you should not want. Wanting is bad, you should just chronically give. And then bad people want more and more and more. So you see the subconscious programming of both groups. The people that are morally just and kind are like, oh, I can't take. Taking is bad. So what do? They just give and they never get anything in return. And that's why a majority of the most religious countries are impoverished, because they're conditioned based on morality. And then you have, the people that don't care about any of that stuff, and they say, I just want what I want and I'm going to get it. And that becomes their reality as well. So it's about the subconscious being the most powerful part of what creates your experience. And your consciousness is the thin crust, right? The outer crust, where you receive information that permeates into your belief system. And if you let something you witness from your consciousness permeate into your subconscious, it will now become something you experience. So it says the subconscious is the most important part of consciousness. It is the cause of voluntary action. The subconscious is what a man is. The conscious is what a man knows. When you know something, you're thinking. The subconscious is what a man is. You are your belief. you don't have to think that you're, meaning me, a white Polish girl. I've had enough experience to recognize that that's how I used to identify it as. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to be conscious of it anymore. It's a subconscious knowing. That's why it says the subconscious is what a man is. I am a white Polish chick, okay? The conscious is what a man knows. To be conscious is to think. To be unconscious is to not be capable of thinking. So when you know something, you're using your mind actively. But your subconscious is what you've already programmed yourself to understand time and time and time and time again. It requires no thinking. There's already a belief. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. When Jesus says this, it implies exactly what we're talking about here. Jesus is man. He was not born of a man. In mysticism, man means mind, and female means the spirit, or intuition, or emotions. The fact that Jesus was not born of man means he was void of thought. He was void of judgment. He was void of ego. He was born of woman, which means he was born of spirit. And that's why a shepherd visited him first amongst any other person who could possibly visit him. And it's because shepherds symbolically represent somebody who chronically watches their pure thoughts. Sheep are white, kind of like the Lamb of God takes away the sins of the world, right? I think a lamb is a baby sheep or a baby ram, depending on the gender it turns into. I could be wrong. But there's a lot of symbolism with the animals. And I'm not here to stomp on anyone's religious beliefs. I just want to explain this from an esoteric perspective, that all the characters are symbolic and reference your consciousness. So going back to the idea of Jesus saying, I and my Father are one, is referencing the idea that the spirit within you is what universal consciousness is. If anyone watches like Aaron Abke, who teaches the law of one, right? The book of Ra or whatever. It parallels this concept. I am you, you are me, we all come from source. The Father and I are one. Source is within all of us. But Jesus is a representation of someone who is Neo from the Matrix and wakes up and says, hey, my thoughts create my reality. And that's when you recognize you can start bending your environment, similar to what Neo does. So when I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I, is said, it implies that I am human and I recognize I can manifest through my thought and thought alone. But my thought is a gift that is given from the divine. The Father gave me this gift and is instilled in me in this mind, body, spirit complex. So me as a human operator of the spirit, I recognize I'm limited because I have a mind. A mind cannot understand intuition or universe. It is just too far vast and not logical. So being human and bound to the mind, but having God as a part of me, I recognize my Father that is in heaven outside of the human body, that gives me this connection to him, is far greater than I, because I'm just a physical representation of that fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional essence, or whatever dimension it is, okay? The conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. The conscious and subconscious are one. This is true. And the reason why is because opposites are one as well. Left and right are directions, but you wouldn't know what left is if you didn't have right. You'd have nothing to compare it to, so you couldn't give directions, which makes it one, even though it has subgroups. The same goes for yin and yang. It's still one, because without the dark, you wouldn't understand the light, and vice versa. And it comes together to create an experience. When you have something to compare something to, you have duality. But duality reminds you that there's also singularity, or just one, if that makes sense. If you have comparison in your life, you'll be able to understand why something can exist on its own, creating it as a singular entity. But without comparison, you wouldn't know what you are. So that's why the conscious and subconscious are one. You need one another to understand each other, to call each other out as individuals. But without them together, you wouldn't be able to identify either group. So it has to be one. They come together, it comes in pairs in order to understand what it is. But the subconscious is greater than the conscious, which is something I had gone over before. Your subconscious are old conscious beliefs that are now permeated through the deepest layers of your mind and sit there as the way you view reality. If you turn off the noise of all the podcasts, of all the music, of all the news, to the best of your ability, and just witness your thoughts, like a shepherd watching sheep go by. It's all allegory. It's a parable for you to understand that your mind is a crazy place to be. And when you witness all of the things you genuinely think and genuinely believe, you can reflect on why your life is the way it is. Because chances are you get very lucky in certain things. Maybe it comes to money or love. And then maybe you come to unlucky things like the ability to hold conversations, or your inability to tan well, or you have horrific allergies. These are things you can change. I'm not a doctor, but I've been to plenty for my own reasons, because I was told I had autoimmune issues. The more I understand manifestation, the more I understand my judgment and stress creates everything that happens to me. That's not to say you shouldn't be responsible with like taking a shower or eating well. Like, I still think there's a lot of merit to doing basic things that correlate to treating your body with respect. But you also hear stories of people that drink and smoke like crazy and live to be like 105. Meanwhile, and you heard that ding, that's kind of, I don't know, confirmation ding if you want. Meanwhile, you have these health nuts that exercise like bananas, eat perfectly fine, and they die at a very young age. Why? Because they're so obsessed with health, they think they'll lose it. The people who don't obsess over health are like, fuck it, it's fine. And they can go further. You know, again, I'm not a medical person, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But if you reflect in your own life in ways you judge against yourself or for yourself, you can connect the dots as to why certain things worked in your favor and then also at your deficit. I of myself can do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the work. That's basically saying, when you set an intention, like I'm not allergic to pollen, even though you had been for years, you claim what you want to experience. It might not happen the first day. It might not happen the second day or within the same season. But the next year it comes around and you don't let up with that intention setting, you will not be allergic to pollen. And I say that because that happened to me. The power of your mind is incredibly real. And if you just take a moment and give it your attention and patience to practice, you will be rewarded immensely. I, objective consciousness of myself, can do nothing. The Father, the subconscious, he doeth the work. This also implies, to an extent, you don't need to know how something will happen. I don't know how my allergies resolve themselves. You can go back and see one of the videos I did where I was outside recording and my face was so snotty, my eyes were tearing, I looked like a mess, but I kept going with my scripture lines because I wanted to finish the video. I was committed to it. I like helping people, I love learning, and I was like, no, I gotta do this. But it's not about that, it's about my snotty face and being allergic and just being like, man, I hate my allergies. I caught that thought the more I practice waking up every day being the creator, and I see how much power I really have. The more you convince yourself that consciousness creates your realities through simple, mundane things, like saying, everyone always gives me compliments, I'm the most attractive person here. And then you finally start getting compliments, and then people finally start looking at you, but in a good way, you'll start seeing, oh, that's how this works. It's very simple to create compliments or something that you don't care about because you don't have resistance to creating that thing. You don't care. The reason why you can manifest seeing a lime green car all the time is because it doesn't matter if you see it or not. There's no resistance. Why would it matter? There's no programming saying you don't deserve to see a lime green car. But when it comes to love, there tends to be a lot of self-hate. There tends to be an overindulgence of watching terrible shows like 90 Day Fiancé and the Kardashians, who are all terrible models of a healthy relationship. And watching them at night is a terrible way to go to sleep because your brain is wide open. The subconscious opens up. The brain, I think, goes from alpha, which is consciousness, to theta, which is hypnosis, into delta, which is you being unconscious and asleep in your REM cycle. The theta brain state exists right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up. If you watch this trash TV about horrible examples of how relationship dynamics should work, it will program you to normalize that. And then that will play out in your experience, unless you have a healthy self-concept. But there's a lot of people online obsessing about SP, which is like, specific partner, or whatever. I don't even care. It's fine. Soul partners, it's probably not. But you get what I'm saying. If you stop watching that stuff and you start working on yourself, you don't have to be attractive. You don't have to be a certain weight. You don't have to be a certain height. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be a beauty standard. All that marketing is done so it makes you feel like less, so you feel lack and you attract lack in your life. If you just say, I'm perfect, and dissolve all of the crap you've ever ingested that told you different, people will have no other option and experiences will have no other option other than to show you that you are perfect because your self-talk changed. That is it. The subconscious are deep-rooted programs that you've accepted while you were being conscious, which is just being awake. So understand you don't need to know how this stuff works. I mean, you could. Be my guest. Explore it. But it might stress you out even more. If you really want to practice manifestation, just watch your thoughts. There's no other way to do this other than to observe the way you think. Observe what you ingest. Observe how you judge life. And if you don't like something, catch it and start judging it differently. Judge it for the opposite. If your life is not going the way you want it to, observe the way you think about life. Write it down. Write down your thoughts so it's in front of you and you can analyze it. It gives it life so you can actually see it for what it is and not just this jargon going up in your head that's stressing you out. And then write the opposite of that thing that you think exists. Like, I have no money. Next to it, write, I have all the money in the world. Write the opposites. And those can be your mantras. Start repeating these things to yourself healthfully and in moderation. Don't go crazy. Don't go nuts. Work on this day to day, week to week, month to month, and be patient with yourself. All you have to do in this world is live and die. Why rush it? Like, why rush to the end goal? Why are you so stressed? You know, it's easier for me to say coming from a place of being comfortable in my life as I am right now. And I understand hard times fall upon everybody, especially in this day and age, in this climate. But when you capture your thoughts, you can start creating peace in your life and separate from all the chaos they want you to believe in. So you stop creating it in your world as well. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'm gonna do more of these, I think, just reading simple excerpts from Neville that reference the Bible, and we'll see where it goes. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.